Hi and welcome back to Still Sassy, or hello if this is your first time. Now, unless you haven't been watching any social media at all over the past few weeks, you can't have failed to see the new hack that's going around on YouTube and Instagram. And it's a hack for the under eye area. It was brought to us by a very famous makeup artist, Scott Barnes, who's JLo's makeup artist, so must know what he's doing. And he says this hack can do lots of things, in particular take 20 years off the way we look, yippee, I hope that works, and also make the under eye area look amazing so that your concealer doesn't crease, doesn't flake, it doesn't wear off, and you look as useful at the end of the day as you did at the start. Sounds good to me. Now, because this hack has been all over the internet, I nearly didn't do this video. However, there are some things I want to know that Scott Barnes hasn't told me. First off, and most importantly, he uses something called Aquaphor lip balm for this particular hack. However, I live in the UK and you can't actually easily get the Aquaphor balm here. I think the only way I could get it was to order it at the grand price of about £49, which for a lip balm I'm not doing, even if it does work. So I'm trying something different, same but different, if that makes any sense, which I'll show you in a minute. So it's important to me to know whether this hack works with this particular product, otherwise I'm not going to be able to use it. I also want to know if it works for a woman of my age, because the person that he was doing the demo on wasn't as old as I am, so into the 50s. Is it going to work? And also I want to know whether it works with my particular routine, because the things I do around my eye area that he didn't do. So if I add this in, is it going to be okay? So that's why I'm doing this video. Now, I've not tried it, so you're doing this with me today and we'll see how it goes. But before I dive into that, of course, if you're liking this video or any video I've ever produced, I would love it if you could subscribe to this channel and like this video too. That really helps content creators like me. So thank you for that. So what are the products that we need to use in this hack? Well, Scott Barnes uses something called Aquaphor lip balm. I couldn't get it, as I just said, so I'm using Aquaphor lip repair, which I think I got from Amazon, and it was about £5, so a lot less than the lip balm. I'm not sure why the lip balm is so expensive, but either way I couldn't get it, so we're going to try it with this and hope that it does the trick. I've opened the packaging a bit, but I haven't opened the actual tube yet, so I've no idea what the consistency is like. We'll have a look at that in a minute. The other product was the Maybelline Superstay, and this is actually a foundation, but he's using it as a powder to set the concealer when he's got everything else on. This is classed as a hybrid powder foundation, and I've got the colour 06, which I think will be okay for me. I had to buy it on the internet and it's always difficult to know, isn't it? So those are the two things that he suggests we use for this hack. Well, he suggests we use as the balm, but like I said, we're not using that today. Now, as you can see, I've already put some eye makeup on and I've got my brows done as well, because you didn't need to see me do that. But if you're interested, I used the Hourglass Scattered Light in Smoke just to give me a wash of colour on my eyes, which is quite sparkly, which I love. And I've also put sunscreen on, which I have no idea if that happened in Scott Barnes' video or not, but I've used the Kiehl's Ultralight Defense, which is an SPF 50, and under that is all my normal skincare. So I've done everything I would normally do to this point, and now we'll get on with the hack. Now, I've just opened my Aquaphor lip repair. I'm going to test the consistency on the back of my hand. And yes, it does feel quite balmy. It's not a cream, so that's hopeful, isn't it? And it feels fine. Actually, it probably would be very nice on the lips, I have to say. Now, a balm like this should work as an occlusive, which is a little bit like Vaseline. If you put Vaseline under your eyes, some people do overnight, for instance, it stops them from drying out. It stops the moisture from leaving that area and gives them a nicer look. I've never tried it underneath my eyes, not with makeup over the top. I sometimes put eye cream on and then Vaseline over the top when I'm going to bed, but I've never done that through the day, so we'll see. Now what Scott says is to put it under the eyes and also in the marionette lines here and around the lips. It's supposed to do the trick there too, in just making those areas look fresher and not cakey, you know, with the foundation getting into the creases here. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get some of this on. With Scott's video, he did like 4 or 5 swipes of the balm stick. I don't know how much that is in this sort of balm, so I'm just going to guess that it's one smallish squeeze. So let's get it on, and he tapped it on. Feels nice, getting it right into the crow's feet. Now you see with the pictures that I'm showing you here what my eye area looks like without any makeup on at all. No concealer, nothing. It's just got my skincare on and my sunscreen. And I just wanted to take those for comparison so that we can see what they look like at the end. So that's gone on fine. Does feel a little bit sticky, but I guess that's to be expected when you put in some sort of balm under your eyes. Okay, I'm not going to put any balm on this side because I want to see how it looks in comparison. But I am going to put some in my lines and round my lips on this side. Now this is where my routine differs from Scott's, because I need to put some foundation on next to see how it goes around my mouth here where I've put the balm. But I like to use primer before my foundation, and if Scott had used primer, he didn't say, so whether this is different to what he does or not, I'm not sure. But I need this technique to work with what I enjoy doing normally, so I'm going to put primer on. I also put something under the eyes to make the area look less dark before I put my concealer on. That's sometimes a colour corrector, it's sometimes a highlighter of some sort, and that's what I'm going to do today. So now I am just putting on some primer. It's a nice glowy one, and it's the Sculpted by Amy Beauty Base in Pearl, I think it is. Yes, Pearl. And that just gives really nice shine and gleam to the skin before we put the foundation on. And I'm avoiding the eye area. You don't want too much glitter and glam under there. And then I also put under my eyes, like I said earlier, something to stop the darkness looking so dark. Today I'm using the Peach Lowlighter by Rhode, and this just covers the darkness but also gives a little bit of light to the under eyes. It's a really useful thing to do, and because it's peach it also colour corrects. So let's just get some of that on. Don't put a lot on. I'm going to do both sides. Hopefully you'll be able to see how it changes the colour of my under eyes when I blend it in. Just going to use this little brush. It's the It Cosmetics double-ended concealer brush. Okay, this is the side with the Aquaphor, and this is the side without. What I like about this is if you can get it right into the corners there, particularly if you're using a brush like this, it really does lighten up the area. Let's pat that on. Then it's time for the foundation, and for this I'm using the Glossier Stretch Foundation, which is very nice. You don't need a lot, and I'm using the Bobbi Brown Full Coverage Face Brush, which I really like. It's probably a lot more universal than I use it for. I've only got the one and I use it for foundation, but you could probably use it for lots of other things. But I'm just going to pop this on. I tend to start in the middle where I need the most coverage. Always remember to do it under the nose, and then spreading it out towards the sides as you go. I'm getting a bit of dryness in my skin at the moment because I've started using tretinoin much more regularly than I was doing on a night, and it's drying me out a bit, but that'll change as it gets used to it. Now once I've got my foundation on with the brush, I always go in with a sponge and just blend it out. Just everywhere, dot it around. It just really softens the foundation and makes sure it's all blended and there's no streaks from the brush. At the moment, I'm not too sure if my eyes are looking any different. I haven't got the concealer on yet. We'll try that next, obviously. See what happens. For the concealer, I'm using one of my favourite, which is the Charlotte Tilbury Radiant Concealer. I'm using this one because it's one that I do use quite a lot, so it's a good test to see whether this balm is working or not. It's long lasting, goes on nicely, doesn't crease too much, so we'll see. So I'm just gonna, don't want to go in with too much concealer because that just makes your eyes look too heavy. So a light touch if you can. Just going to put a few dots here and there, and I always take my concealer upwards at the edges to give me the lift. I would put some here and here, a little bit here. And then concealer brush. This is actually a Real Techniques brush, and I'm not sure what it's called. It's just a small ended brush. I've had it so long I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, this is the one I'm going to use. I'm just going to pat it in. Now this is also where the video from Scott Barnes differs, because he does the under eye concealer with his fingers. I don't do that, so I'm going to see if it works this way too. I like to do a bit of tapping, a bit of swiping, getting it into the corner as much as I can, because that's, you know, where a lot of the darkness is. Don't forget the bits here, which I quite often do, and then just before I go out I realise I've not blended that in, which is craziness. Some people use a sponge for their concealer, which is also okay, but I just prefer a brush. I've got a fair few brushes for concealer. I like this one, and this is a Rose Ink one. It's much flatter, and I sometimes go in with that for a bit of a tap as well. And that's that. That's with Aquaphor, without Aquaphor. I've got my big mirror here. Let's have a look in the big thing. It's actually quite difficult to tell, but I do think on this side, the Aquaphor side, my crow's feet are slightly less pronounced. And what I'm actually finding as well is that the Aquaphor side in this mirror, I can see some of the concealer clumping. I guess it's sticking to the stickiness, which the other side isn't. So that's interesting. You probably can't see from a distance, but that is actually happening. And then what we need to do to finish off is add some of the Superstay foundation as a powder. Never tried this. I'm just using a fluffy brush, tapping it off, making sure there's not too much on there, and then I'll just pat that in as well. Then on the other eye. And there we have it, with and without. From a distance I do think this eye's looking okay. I'm not sure it's making enough of a difference for the faff, but I need to wear it for longer obviously to find out. So I'm just going to nip and finish my makeup, and then we'll come back and have a chat. Okay, so I've got a bit of blush on, a bit of lipstick, just finished off quickly. The other thing I like to do is spritz. Once I put my powder on, which I have now, I give my face a little spritz. I'm going to do that. As I say, I just want to keep everything the same other than using the Aquaphor. So I've been looking at my eyes in this big mirror, and my conclusion is that this part of my eye doesn't really look a great deal of different, but I am pretty certain that my crow's feet are softer on this side. And looking at the lines here, I'm not sure it's made any difference at all. So what I'm going to do is go away for a little while and see how this lasts, and I'll be back to have another look and see if we can conclude whether it's worth doing or not. Okay, so I'm back sometime later, and I've been scrutinising my eyes and marionette lines in my big mirror. Well, it's a little mirror, but it's very magnified. And strange enough, I've just been tapping my eye here because I had some mascara smudge onto my under eye area, which is actually not something that happens to me very often. So whether it's made my under eye area just a bit too greasy and it's making my mascara smudge, who knows, but that's definitely something that happened, and it's not happened on the other side. And I still think my crow's feet on this side are a little bit softer to this one, and my marionette lines are a little bit softer too. Now it's had a chance to sort of bed itself in, but I don't know that it's actually, just looking in the normal mirror, visible with the naked eye. I think it was an experiment worth doing. Would I do it again? I'm not sure. It was a bit of a faff. Certainly around my lips and marionette lines perhaps. I'm not sure about the eyes, because if it's going to make my mascara smudge, then that is a no-no for me. So I'd love it if you gave it a go too. I mean, obviously I'm not using the correct balm. If I had the correct balm, perhaps the results would be different. Maybe, you know, much more amazing. But I can't get the right balm, so it was this or nothing. I keep looking at myself in the mirror because I can't decide on the outcome. I think it has made some difference. I definitely do, looking at it from a little more of a distance than really up close. And I think the creases are in my under eye area, I would say, are lessened. And yeah, the marionette lines too. So after all that, I think the answer is it has done some good. Probably wouldn't use it all the time because it's a faff and I don't need to use it all the time, but maybe if I was going out somewhere special or just wanted to look less creased, then I would give it a go. So that's my verdict on this hack. So if you've tried it, please let me know what you found and how it worked for you. If you haven't tried it and you do, then the same, come back and let me know. And if you are in the UK and managed to get some of the balm, the stick, for not an enormous amount of money, let me know about that as well, and I'd get my hands on that and give it another go with the correct product. Anyway, that was interesting, and I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.